when you're hiring people, people make mistakes, right? And as you're scaling up, there's a certain amount of mistakes baked into the system. And so we kind of have this known process of doing quality assurance and supervision on people's work and then training people. And there's sort of like this emerging, role job function to do quality assurance and supervision on AI work. And I don't think it's any different. It's just like this sort of a new standard operating procedure of doing this. And I'm always kind of curious how firms have been, figuring that out.
Yeah, listen, we have an obligation. We have an ethical obligation to our clients to produce the best quality legal output that we can. But according to the ABA, and I agree with this, we also have an ethical obligation to stay informed of new technology. And that is an ethical obligation that lawyers should become familiar with and use AI. And then, of course, be very aware of the confidentiality issues, the data privacy issues, the inherent bias baked into most LLMs. All of these things are required, ethically required, to be an attorney these days. So, these lawyers that tell me, oh, I don't think AI is safe yet, and I'm going to wait to see what happens, and, I don't want to be the first one out there. They're already so far behind that they're never going to catch up. Forget about law firms like mine that are really, really using AI to, a lot. Even these firms that are using it a little bit are using outside vendors, right? Like SuperPanel or some of these other, vendors that are out there. These firms are already ahead of their competitors who aren't using AI. I like to use this historical analogy is, when I started out as a lawyer, lawyers would say, I don't need the internet. I've got a brochure. I get all my clients from my brochure. And guess what? The people that had websites, started doing better. And then the same lawyers would say, well, I've got a website. I don't need SEO. Everybody's going to find me. Well, yeah, you need SEO. And the firms that were at the forefront of SEO are still at the forefront, and no one's going to catch them. And then, oh, I don't need social media. Yeah, you do need social media. And if you're not doing it, the firms that are already ahead of you, and you'll never catch up. And now there's AI. So anyone who wants to just sit back and see what happens, you're never going to catch up, especially at the pace that is going on with AI.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Those are good analogies. I've talked to some folks that have been working in the industry for a very long time that have told me some similar stories. Like, I don't need a website. Like, why would I? Everything has worked so far without a website. And it sounds like this sort of inherent adaptability and curiosity and high velocity of learning is something that you just inherently have or worked at and have instilled in your firm. And so I think that's so important. I totally agree with you there. Just jumping around kind of back to a topic we touched on earlier. I'm just curious, when you talked about hiring and all the importance of hiring and how you look for people, you also talked about your leadership team. I'm curious, like, what does your leadership team look like, and how do you decide what roles exist on your leadership team? Can you kind of walk through that?
Yeah, so I've got some people that have come up with me, right? They might have started when we had 30 people at the firm, and now we're 4 times that. So they have grown, and then I have other people that we've brought in as we've got larger. I think, though, the key is you have to have a nurturing environment. It's got to be a two-way street. So I need to be able to trust them to do what their job is, and report back to me without me micromanaging. And then likewise, I need to give them the authority, and also the whole team needs to know that my executive team, I support them. I've had this conversation. I may disagree with you in private, but I will never contradict you in front of the team. So everybody knowing that I have entrusted my leadership in these people, whether it's the director, my intake supervisor, or the case manager supervisor, settlement paralegal supervisor, litigation paralegal supervisor, and then my bookkeeping team and my HR team, my marketing team. And then, of course, I've got my firm administrator, and she's at the top of all of this. So going back to my point on culture, it's the combination of all of this. So it's me leading at the top with my vision and our mission, and it going down to the executive team and the leaders, who have to be the ones that are communicating with the people that are doing the work. I've grown too big. I can't supervise or be actively involved in every single person's position in the firm. And so either training someone to be a leader or bringing them in from the outside has been, has been key to our ability to continue to scale.
That's great. The culture piece is so important. Great to hear that you're thinking about that and talking about that.
With culture, what is culture? I wish that I could bottle it up. I wish I could write a book and sell it. It's really hard to put your finger on. It's a lot of little things, and those little things add up. It's making people enjoy coming to work, not just doing the work, but being empowered and giving them the power to handle situations. It's how you address issues within the firm, and then it's the little things. In the 4 offices that we have, we had an Easter egg hunt. This was not my idea. All right, this was someone else's, and it went over so well. We've got some international team members, Ramadan. And so, of course, we made sure that everybody understood what Ramadan was, these little kind of things. We give shout outs all the time to people. We publicize anniversaries, how long people have been there at the firm, and birthdays. The communication between each other. I have my wine education certification, so I hosted a wine tasting for the whole firm. And I gave the shopping list to the 3 other offices. They went out and bought it, and we did it all on Zoom. So part of it is team building. Part of it is how you treat everyone. We have a very, very we do not have a hierarchical team. The only thing that separates the lawyers from the people who take out the trash is we went to school longer, right? So we're no better than anyone else. I like to tell people the quickest way to get fired in the firm is to say that's not my job, because it's everybody's job. So all these things contribute to it. We have our monthly meeting by Zoom. We have everybody on the Zoom. A month or 2 ago was Employee Appreciation Day. Gosh, if you're not doing something for Employee Appreciation Day, I mean, that's as low hanging fruit as there is. How can you expect a team to believe in you when you didn't even pay attention to an Employee Appreciation Day? So, all these little things contribute to creating a firm wide culture.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, what I'm getting out of all this is just this sort of shared set of behavioral and norms, and sort of ways to behave in certain situations that you've created that creates an environment that people want to work in and want to work well in. That's really fantastic.
The word that you're bouncing around are values. We have firm values, and they are everything that we do. So I already mentioned one is technology. That is a firm value. Another firm value is approachability. We want to break the stereotype of being stuffy lawyers. We're very serious about the work we do, but we don't take ourselves seriously. Another firm value is creativity. And another one is, technology, community, and diversity. These are firm values that we live by every single day. And when someone has a question about what to do, we can always tell them, look back at our firm values, and that should be able to give you the answer. We always do what's best for the client.
How do you screen for those values? Like technology and approachability are not the top things that come to mind when I think of a law firm. How do you screen for that and sort of instill those values when hiring and when building the culture?
Well, certainly, it's part of our interview process, and I don't do the hiring anymore. But for example, we would say, Julian, one of our firm values is approachability. We want clients to feel like that they can come and talk to us. A lot of people are intimidated by lawyers or law firms. A lot of people have never talked to a law firm. So if our firm values approachability, how would you handle a situation working for our firm? Right. So, but then it's really ingrained once we hire the people. We have a whole section on what our firm values are, what the vision is. We bring it up in all the firm meetings. The lawyers, it's part of their progression through the law firm. If you want to continue to grow through the law firm, you need to learn the firm values and you need to show the firm values because everybody's looking to you as the lawyers. And if you're not displaying the firm values, that's a serious problem. How can anybody else care if the boss or the lawyer or whoever, isn't living these values every single day? So, it all grows upon it and constantly referencing it.